Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard, back today to bring someone to you who's going to help expand your possibilities, help you to think bigger. She's been a highest producer in the mortgage industry for over 30 years, has built an $8 billion company, and now has a massive coaching company. She's somebody who you want to meet. Before we go there, let me remind you that inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook is where we go deeper on these topics. Again, you only learn so much by listening. When you really learn is when you really engage. So join us there. Be sure and deepen your learning. Again, today's guest, her name is Christine Buffy Beckwith. She's fantastic. Again, has spoken on some of the largest stages. Christine, such a pleasure to have you here today.
Yay, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Now, I know you're coming off a big, massive event that you just did with, just some big names in the real estate industry. Let me just start off by saying, how was that?
Yeah, it was so awesome. So we just had our annual, and it ended up not happening, of course, like every event in 2020. So it's the first time in 2 years we've had it, but it's called the Vision Summit. And we attract, hundreds of professionals in the real estate and loan space. We had Barry Habib, who is obviously the CEO of MBS Highway and an economist for MSNBC and CNN. And we had Brad Lee, CEO of Lightspeed, who owns the software for our company, but also for Tony Robbins and Damon John and Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, Grant Cardone. And so it was really cool to have all these people and a ton of really incredible, powerful people within the industry that were up on stage sharing their insights. And it was fun. It was a fun 2-day event and a couple of parties. And anyways, I've been sleeping well for the last 10 days now that I can check the box. But that's done.
Awesome. Now, again, let's hear a little bit about your story. First and foremost, people are probably wondering, tell us about Buffy, right?
Yeah.
How did that name come to you?
So Buffy comes from, my name was Christine Bufton, Bufton. So legitimately, my prior name abbreviated. So really, just stuck with me all my life. People know me that way. It's kind of funny because I don't think it fits me in a way. It's very girly and I'm very tomboyish, but it stuck. So there it is.
Yeah, I know you have an affinity for Harley Davidsons.
Yeah,
and some other fun stuff. So yeah, I can see Buffy on the back of a Harley. I think that makes sense to me.
I own it.
It works.
For sure.
Now, let's talk about, again, kind of the big takeaway that I want guests to receive from you today. A couple of things. Number one, this concept of women that dominate, right? I think there's some glass ceilings that maybe women put upon themselves. And you've obviously broken through every one of those. Honestly, created, again, one of the biggest stages, one of the biggest brands in the real estate industry. If there's a female out there, right, that is listening to this saying like, I don't know that I can compete in what feels oftentimes kind of like like a men's game at times, sure, right? There's maybe certain advantages. What was the narrative that went through your mind when you were maybe faced with something similar to that, and or people doubted you, or even you doubted yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot there to unpack. So it's funny because I just had to give like my real first, I feel like, advocacy speech. So Women with Vision is underneath the brand 2020 Vision for Success Coaching. We are the largest women's coaching division in the American banking and real estate space in America. And we're really proud of that. We still only represent about 30% of our overall gender base. 70% is guys. I started in 1988 going to college for sports medicine and nutrition. And I was the understudy of a female originator, which was very, very rare at the time. And as the next 20 years, I'm going to make this really fast, went, I found myself, of course, outnumbered in all the ranks, originations and different, levels of management. I worked for H&R Block Mortgage for 12 years. And during that time, I broke several glass ceilings that I was really kind of unaware was happening when it was happening. I knew, of course, that I was one of 210 branch managers. I was the only female. Wow. So I was very well aware of, and so when I became the district manager and then a regional manager, I was, district manager, there were 52. I was the only female. Regional managers, there was 6. Again, the only female. And then when I became the senior vice president, it made a big, news splash. And I was called from all the big newspapers in New York. And of course, at the time, I had never held that role. So I was kind of like of the mindset, gosh, don't pay attention too close. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm still figuring things out. But this is what I will say today. Fast forward the whole, now it's been 33 years. I started this coaching firm about 3 years ago. I thought it was really important that I recognize that women recognize me as an icon within the industry. And so that sounds weird saying that, but I don't know how else to say it other than it pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm very much a tomboy. I didn't make gender a part of my story. I was fortunate to have great men in my career that promoted me. And for the most part, I really experienced, fairness. I had, isolated incidents through my career that I had to battle. And I speak about that in some of the books that I've written and whatnot. So to end this, I will say this. I think it's important that we recognize that women are still a minority for the banking industry.
Yeah.
And they're certainly a minority in the upper echelon level jobs, both in real estate and in mortgage. And so I think it's really important that we run good businesses. So what I stand for today is giving women the knowledge they need, because I have that experience in running really good businesses. So a lot of women want to start businesses, a lot of people, men, and they don't know what they don't know. And so my expertise is in financial forensics, and our coaching firm is able to fill in all the blanks for them and help them run thriving businesses.
Isn't that an interesting concept? I love what you said there of really helping women to actually be better, right?
Yeah.
I think there tends to be a bit of a movement in our society today of taking people who haven't broken through glass ceilings and give them an unfair advantage. And whereas what you're saying is, I'm going to give them a fair advantage. I'm going to actually help them to be better, not be favored because of some disadvantage, right? But actually say, let's make you better so that you take gender out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like gender is irrelevant. The fact that you're just simply a better professional, that's your mission.
I think it's like we could go down like a real hole here, but I'll say this, and this is going to be great radio, by the way. I think there's a lot of women that are serious business people that I never wanted you to give me anything. I wanted to earn it. Yeah. Like, it's kind of like when you play sports. And I said, I went to college for sports medicine, and, I was an athlete growing up, but I'm still an athlete at 51 years old today. I woke up this morning and worked out, lifted weights. And so, I would tell you that don't give me a participation trophy, and please, please do not give me something I don't deserve, because I want to brag when I win. I want to spike the ball and say, I did that. I accomplished that. I climbed that mountain. And I think a lot of women feel that way. And so, I've seen both ends of the spectrum. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people sometimes that get microphones. And I think sometimes what they're trying to do is good-hearted, but it gets distorted in a message. We have to step back sometimes and really look at history. And we have to understand where we are in the history books. Women just began to vote like 60 years ago.
Crazy, isn't it?
And so when you think about an average woman's lifespan of 80, 90 years old, and we're living in this time of evolution for women, what then becomes our cause? Well, I think let's help move the ball. Let's help move it along. Do I expect it to be, do I want equality for women? What I want for women is when they're the best choice to be chosen, when they deliver good results to get an award. I don't think they should have equal parts at a table if the populace is male dominated, because at a ratio, it should equal that amount. And I'm fine if it tips the scales, to more women even. That in mind, my voice is very much to strip women of excuses. And I'm going to tell you, I'm the same way with the guys. Like, if you come to me and you tell me why you aren't, losing weight in a gym analogy, and you're not putting in the time, I'm going to call that out. And I'm going to do that for women. If women come to me with a gender argument, but their production doesn't deem them appropriate for a promotion, then I'm going to call that out. And so I'm not anti-woman. I just feel like I'm gender neutral for women's businesses. And so I'm loudly banging a drum. Women, come to me. I know how to make your businesses thrive. And that's what we're doing at Women with Vision. We had a wonderful night on June 8th. We recognized 72 women who won our annual award called Women with Vision. And if you follow us, please, little plug for us, shameless plug. We have a magazine called Women with Vision, www.mag.com. And I only tell you this because for me, winning some awards meant everything from me getting promotions and building my resume. And we do an annual award, and that award nomination is opening in July. So I would love to give that away to the listeners. And guys, we have a magazine for you too. It's equal opportunity. It's called thevisionmag.com. So you can also subscribe to that.
I mean, something that really stands out to what you said there. Again, I've been a personal development student for the past 25 years. And there's one principle that is the foundation for all else, and it's personal responsibility. It's accountability.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that some people start with an advantage, right? There's no doubt, like all things are not come from the same starting place. But what I hear you saying is that, yeah, we can't fix that, but what we can fix is how we show up in the world today. Mm-hmm. How we can show up is making each and every one of us better, taking complete responsibility for where we're at and the progress that we make based on what we're given.
That's it. Hold ourselves accountable, And I'm not afraid to stand and fight for women that are discriminated or sexually harassed 100%. Or have pay negotiation issues. We do that here. We teach tactics. In fact, we ask you we have specialty classes in our learning dashboards for women. If you're getting ready to be reviewed for your annual review and you want to have a little strategy in mind. And by the way, this class would work for guys too if they listen to it. It's just that it is true that women fight for pay equality still today. And I did experience inequality in that area and had to fight really hard to point out those inequities. In the latter part of my career, in the last decade of 30 years, I noticed the gap for me being very high up on the ladder was wider to my male counterpart. And in my mind, unjustly. And I will tell you, I won my negotiations by pointing that out. So I'm not afraid to stand and fight, but I didn't victimize myself in the process. I think unfortunately, there's a lot of bias in the world that is embedded in our society subconsciously. Like, I don't know that there is as much conscious bias as we think. I think that a lot of times the way we are taught by our parents, the things we say, the things we do are innate things that we have learned through our societal evolution. And so for me to say that these people are malice, I couldn't really say, but to say, hey, did you notice that I'm sitting here in this spot thinking, I'm getting paid X for this job description, give them the opportunity to fix it. And then say, thank you for recognizing that this wasn't right somehow and, making it right. And so I'll stand with women and fight if they have those battles. And so anyways, yeah.
And that's, I think, part of personal accountability is what do we have control over, right? Is it fighting for the fact that there ought to be some equality when it comes to equal performance compensated equally? 100%, right? Again, that goes back to what are the things that I can do and should do in order to improve the world, right? Improve my community, improve my situation. And I think when we all focus on that, everybody's lives get better, right? Everything gets better for people.
I've seen men bullied in the workplace. Like, I just want to be frank. Like, I've seen men pick on other men in the workplace in my lifetime. So I have a son, that's 15 years old. And I don't think for a moment that just because he's a boy, he's impervious to the world's harshness or inequities. And so I think we all would do ourselves great favors to set that example for our children and really open their eyes to things. And so I feel like I'm raising a gender equal-minded boy without even talking about it. I mean, it's a non-existing conversation, but he has me as his example.
Yeah, exactly. So. Exactly. Yeah, you've broken through the glass ceilings that have helped him to see that women can dominate, right? Yeah. In a potentially formerly or even currently male dense population or industry, right? Which is fantastic. It inspires so many people. So thank you for your example there. One of the things for those that are listening to this, we're going to get here at the end. We're going to ask, what's Christine's insight around the industry? What should agents, loan officers be doing right now? Before I go there, I want to hit on something that's even kind of more near and dear to my heart, right? I'm also a father. I know you're a parent. One of the big things one of the big missions of this show is not just to teach success, but to teach significance, to think bigger than real estate. Obviously, you've done all these amazing accomplishments while raising a child. What advice can you have, or what advice do you have for those that, again, having success, just success isn't enough, but they also want to be great at home? How did you do that? How did you build an $8 billion company and still show up and be a great mom?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that journey for me is like most human beings' journey of discovery, self-discovery, your why and your purpose, and, all those things. The things that mattered to me in my 20s were trophies and awards. And, in my 30s, it was money and promotions. And, as life evolved, and I think I was always doing charitable work, by the way. I always found myself in the local board of realtors. I won an award in 2002, an international award for community service. The one person picked from 14,000 people at H&R Block, because I had done something like, I don't even know, 11 different charities that year. And so I've always had that philanthropic mindset. I've given away 26 scholarships for secondary education off a foundation that I created. Today, we have youthful people in our organization. We give away educational scholarships to our business school for kids that aren't going to college to learn the tactics of business management from us in our own way. And so, I think my father played a huge role. I just wrote on LinkedIn on Sunday, and it's actually been a really popular post, not why I wrote it, but, I said, I put up a picture of my father and I said, this is my father. And he was 17 years old when I was born. I don't think I've ever said that out loud all the Father's Day. My father, I'm 51. But I said it, and I said, today I wrote him a card, and I wrote a message inside the card to his 17-year-old self. And the message said, thank you for making the decisions that must have been terribly difficult when it mattered most for my future life.
Wow, that's profound, Christine.
And I said, you do not ever know how our decisions make a ripple effect, but I plan on living a life well lived to honor this decision you made to give me this life. And so happy Father's Day seems terribly inadequate. But, for the depth and the truth of what that means, I say that. So my father served this huge role in my life, more so as I got older and I realized his decisions. When I went away to college, he gave me a Bible, and he put the words have faith, believe, and be strong inside the Bible on a handwritten piece of paper. He also gave me a bookmark, and it said, live with purpose. And those things were really profound to me. He told me, don't chase money, don't chase material things. And we kind of grew up poor. I mean, we always had what we needed, and we were rich in so many other ways, but we really monetarily, of course, because from where they started, and they had to work hard and dig out of that hole. So what I'm trying to say to you is, I think I lived in the wealthiest of moral atmospheres, where we sat for dinner and went to church on Sundays. We helped our neighbors. We had family get-togethers and family reunions, and we were rich in culture, and moral fiber. And so I feel the desire to carry that torch for my father. He said, drive from a place of people and God will provide. And not to get on some pulpit, but I have a deep base faith in my world. And he's right. I've always driven from a place. Why did I leave, a job that was, enormously wealthy? I have worked so hard to get where I was. And then I decided I'm supposed to live a life of teaching. Like, I'm a teacher. And it's kind of a joke, because I had two girlfriends that became teachers when we went to college. And I went into this field, and I thought my whole life that they were crazy because teachers don't get paid anything. And then when I ultimately had to make the choice, I said, I'm a teacher. And here I am. And I certainly traded that high banking income to do this coaching thing. And while this is a lucrative job, my ROI is through the roof with purpose and happiness. And my cup is full today. I'm living, the richest life I could possibly live.
I think when you bring purpose into your day-to-day work, it's fulfillment shows up as well, right? And you end up having a much deeper resolve to do great things. And it's awesome. So cool. Let's move to now kind of this kind of closing segment, which is the real estate industry right now, right? We're seeing unforeseen low levels of inventory, high levels of
Yeah.
demand. What advice would you have? Like, what does your not your gut, because I know you work off like you're a numbers person. Like, what are you
Right.
seeing, and how do we need to position ourselves,
Yeah.
for the upcoming months and years?
Yeah, I think it's funny because like after this, like, in our side, the loan origination side last year was just the cup runneth over, right? Everybody's trying to keep up with the volume. Everybody was refinancing. This year has required this big mental shift. And it's funny because in a few moments, I'm going to go on to my weekly sales meeting nationally, and I'm going to be talking on the topic of pivoting, not to give away what I'm talking about today. But I think it's really important that we understand we're not in a bad market, guys. Like, we are not where 2007 was. So many people want to compare like this last couple of years of volatility to that. In 2007, we had rising default, sudden rising default, coupled with a low demand. And so it was the perfect storm for the crash that occurred, and nobody saw it coming. We were over lending. We had loose lending guidelines. Everybody was getting a loan. We had overbuilt. There were too many homes. There wasn't enough qualified buyers. And we just ran the ship dry. We ran it ashore. And so that's 2007. Today, we're in a rich, growing, and healthier economy than we've ever been in. There is volatility. We hit zero sometime in March when the Feds lowered the rates to zero, which we thought we would never see in a million years. But guys, why do we have a drought? Well, let's just really back this up. First of all, we're just coming off a global pandemic, newsflash, and everybody's been in their homes as their shelter. I don't know about you, but one of the things that we've always noticed in real estate is there's a seasonal decline in the winter months in cold weather states. Why is that? Well, because hats and boots are everywhere and the house doesn't show well and it's dirty and we're in there like a cave and it's not the time to show our house. The outside looks bad and all of these things are happening. Economically, we've just had the winter of our lives ecologically, we just had the winter of our lives from pandemic. We were homeschooling. We were doing our businesses from our homes. Everything was under one roof. And we were in that place for 14 months. We had a 14-month winter. And so people were not listing their homes. If this is your safe haven, if this is your shelter, you aren't listing that place for sale, right? Because it's very scary. And so the perfect storm was created because as this value has increased and now we're at this little market bubble where your homes are just high valued, there's an inventory issue. But I would tell you that we're going to come out of that. All economic forecasting tells you over the next 6 months, people are realizing as COVID is going away and we have herd immunity occurring, now they're realizing, oh man, market's high, I need to list it. And so we're starting to see listings already this month starting to come on. That's going to continue to grow. You also have about 15% foreclosure that's stuck right now from forbearance a year ago. That's kind of new waters. If you think back in the day about loan mod, we're in that realm where you have a little bit of delinquency on the books with the lenders, but they don't know quite what to do about it because they don't really want to foreclose on the people because they know they had forbearance due to pandemic. So they're making some lending decisions about, making lending policy, ad hoc lending policy. And so that 15%, which by the way, represents hundreds of thousands of homes, will also get cured over the next 6 months. So the combination of those two things are going to bring, more up. By the way, builders are out there building and everybody's getting the idea of that. And I would say to any loan originators that are listening, guys, this is the time that you scream from your social media that it's time to come grab your equity. We forget as loan originators that we are like stockbrokers. If you bought a Dunkin' Donuts stock, sorry, I shouldn't use a name. Let me take that back. If you bought a General stock for $50 and it rose to $100, you'd sell it, right? If it had never been there before and you wanted to cash out on it. Well, now's the time for people to use the number one investment vehicle they will ever own to capitalize on it. If they were sending kids to college in the next 3 to 5 years, they should be cashing in to get 203B plans and get that money put away and, have that tax-free dollar. We need to educate. We need to put on our financial advising hats and we need to remind people why they would liquidate, consolidate debt, do home improvement right now, maybe lengthen a term. Why would you increase your interest rate this year? Well, I can think of 25 reasons that you would take a higher interest rate and actually save money doing it If you looked around at your debt and consolidated that high interest rate paying debt and so on and so forth, maybe you lowered your term during the refi boom, but you lost your job during the pandemic and you want to go back to a lengthening term, get a life term insurance policy that covers your mortgage and you're all set. Go back to the longer term, get the monthly savings, increase your liquidity. And so at the end of the day, this is a great market. You just have to learn, Americans need to capitalize on the equity that's in here. People that want to sell or were thinking to sell need to sell now. And everybody just needs to stay strapped in because there's a lot of goodness coming.
So if you're a real estate agent, you're having this conversation with people, right? For everybody that's listening today, go back, listen to what Christine said, and then put that on repeat a couple of times and go speak the enthusiasm and the positive outlook that she just shared. People want to hear good news and they want to hear that things are going to be okay. When people don't hear that, they freeze up, right? Yeah. They stop. They that's when economies shut down. And I would add that's when your personal economy shuts down. Right? When you start having fears and concerns and doubts and kind of negativity roll into even your mind, people can feel that and sense that, and they will not gravitate towards you. They will gravitate towards the people that are speaking optimism, that are giving numbers, fact-based predictions of good things to come. You start speaking that and watch people start to attract to you and seek advice from you and want to use your services. It's good stuff, Christine.
Awesome.
Let's move. I know we're coming here on the end. I want to ask you one more question, which is the signature question of the show. You have done some amazing things. There's no doubt you're in kind of a league of your own when it comes to being a big thinker and a high achiever. And our mission on this show is to find people like you that can inspire the rest of us, right? Inspire the audience on how we too can think bigger and expand our own possibilities. So my question to you, Christine, is what do you do on a regular basis to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
So I teach a class called The Power of Positivity. Many years ago, I had somebody relegate me to the cheerleading mindset, and I really took offense to it. So I dug in and said, I know there's a science-based, there's factual data here about thinking positive. And I went digging and I found the studies of Barbara L. Fredericks. I now teach them. She was a PhD professor at the Northern University of Carolina. And in 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you what the theory is. She actually did subsets of people, negative, positive environments. We have a spectrum of negative and positive thinking that we can be in. When we're in the negative mindset, we either want to fight or flight. Those are the two reactionary emotions we can have. And listen, negativity is going to happen to us every day. We're going to have stress. We're going to have anxiety. We're going to have unfortunate things happen in our lives. And we're going to be pulled into these negative mind spaces. And we're going to want to run away from them or fight them. That's what's going to happen. And in even the best, most positive people's lives, that's happening during the day. However, our recovery rate from that mindset is really important. So the question became, can you avoid it? The answer is no. But if you kind of think of your spectrum, your mindset spectrum being a place like a cup that you can pour water into, you can start your day by filling your cup. So I do a series of things in the morning. I exercise for one because it brings up your dopamine and serotonin levels in your mind. I do some personal posting that's affirmational. And of course, people engage with it, but I'm honestly doing it for myself. Don't tell anyone. and just really trying to get that, get my own self into that mindset. And then I teach. And so one of the greatest things you can do is give of yourself. If you want to become an incredible student, become a teacher. If you want to become somebody that appreciates other people, give. Because it is absolutely the most filling thing. And here's the thing you want to know is our ability to really keep ourselves in the positive mindset, to look at the silver linings, to find the good in things, to read, to write, which both of those are foundational. I'm a 4-time writer of books. And, I put those out into the world and people are always interacting with me about reading my books and sending me messages all over social media. And I get that daily. And so that's wonderful because now that's that's legacy, right? That's going to continue. The two mindset things are broaden and build. When you are able to keep yourself in a positive mindset, something begins to happen where you become creative. So I would just end by saying this. If you look around and you've done home improvements if you're doing crafts, if you're doing hobbies, whatever it is, photography, kayaking, bicycling, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing those things, congratulations, because you're in a broaden and build mindset. When we are in that mindset, our businesses thrive, we thrive. There are health assets that occur. It obviously perpetuates to our children. It sets an example in our businesses. So I'm not Superwoman, and I'm not a robot, and I have bad days. And I would just tell you that I live in this mindset that I can contribute to this cup that we have every day. And I can keep making deposits in there so that it's more filled with water, more filled with positive mindset. And I kind of live every day like that.
You know, one theme that I'm hearing throughout everything that you've shared today is this concept of proactivity, right? Of not being acted upon, but acting, right? Not being a consumer of content, being a creator, right? Being a builder, like actually proactively going and creating the life that you want and creating the circumstances that you want. There's a very evident thread through everything that you say and everything that you do, and should be a great indicator to all of us. If you want to build not only great businesses, but a great life, like do what Christina's done, right? Be proactive, and that positivity will flow through, as will the results. So Christina, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for pouring into us here today. I look forward to continuing our association, and just continuing to learn from you. And it's been a great pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone listening, and God bless you all. And I hope we all have a wonderful rest of our year.
Yes, amen to that. And my final request of everybody here today, they're 3 simple words, and they are: go think bigger. Christine, I appreciate you helping us do that today.
Thank you.